let's try and tackle this problem. So the square root of x is really x to the power of something. Our job is to work out this something. And the cube root of x is really x to the power of something. We've got to work out what that something is. So to understand this, let's try and let's remember that x to the power of a times x to the power of b is really you adding up these two indices. So I'm expecting you to know this. So for the square root, consider this. Consider x to the power of a half times x to the power of a half. You would really add the two indices together. So that would give you x to the power of half plus a half will be 1. X to the power of 1 is just 1. So we don't really understand what it means to have a power of a half. We don't really know what it means to have a x to the power of a half, but it's going to be something times by its exact same self to give you x. So really, x to the power of half is really the square root of x. Because look, for example, if I were to give you, let's say, 9 to the power of a half times 9 to the power of a half, that would be 9. That would be you adding up the two indices. That would be 9 to the power of 1, which is just 9. So really, we don't understand what it means to have 9 to the power of a half or 9 to the power of a half, but it's going to be something, when you times it by its exact same self, it gives you 9. Really, this is the square root of 9, because look, 3 and 3. 3 times 3 is 9. So really, 9 to the power of a half is the square root of 9. So when you have x to the power of half, it means the square root. So here, it should be x to the power of a half. So remember, we don't understand what it means to have a power of a fraction, but it's actually x to the power of a half is actually the square root of x. So for the cube root, consider this. X to the power of a times x to the power of b times x to the power of c. That's the same as you adding up these three indices, a plus b plus c. So if you're trying to understand this, consider this. Consider x to the power of a third times x to the power of a third times x to the power of a third. You would add up all the indices, a third plus a third plus a third. That would be 1. So here, something times it by its exact same self 3 times to give you x. So for example, if I were to ask you what is the cube root of 8, well, consider this. 8 to the power of a third times 8 to the power of a third times 8 to the power of a third. You would add up these three indices. That would be x to the power of 1. But then you don't really understand what it means to have a power of a third to the power of a third. But it's going to be something. It's going to be something times by its exact same self, because all these are the same, to give you the number 8, and it turns out to be 2. You see, you don't understand what it means to have a power of a third, but it's really something times by itself 3 times. Over here it's just 2 times. But something times by itself 3 times to give you the number 8. So really, 8 to the power of a third is a cube root. So this thing here is really to a power of a third. So when someone asks you what is 25 to the power of a half, you don't really understand what it means to have a power of a half, but it's something times by its exact same self twice to give you 25. Well, it's really the same as square root of 25. If someone asks you what is 8 to the power of a third, it's really the same as the cube root of 8. The cube root of 8, which is this thing here. This is cube root of x is really x to the power of a third. Square root of x is x to the power of a half. And if you have something like 16 to the power of 1 over 4, it's really the fourth root. It's really this, the fourth root of 16 with a 4 here. Okay?